What's up, fellow RC addicts, enthusiasts, and just anybody with an interest in the RC hobby? Bear down here with you today. I've got my buddy's X-Max that I'm just doing some maintenance on, and he'd asked me if I could vent his tires for him, and I figured I'd just share that with you guys here today. First most important thing to do is to try and find your specific manufacturer's recommendations for how to vent your tires. Like if you go and check out Proline, they're going to tell you to go ahead and make 2 to 3 equally spaced holes. They recommend that you use a leather punch for an unmounted tire to try to get the cleanest holes. Both Traxxas and Proline recommend using a heat gun if your tires are already mounted to try to just get that the cleanest hole possible without tearing anything. Pretty much everybody recommends that using a drill bit should be your last option. And if you do end up having to use a drill bit, you want to make sure it's very sharp and you're not leaving any tears that are going to continue to tear and just shred your tire apart. So some of the benefits of venting your tires are they're going to allow you, in most parts, you don't really, it's hit or miss on venting your tires with crawlers or not, but Basher specifically, if you're going to be riding in water, snow, mud, even sand, fine dust and stuff like that, it's going to work its way into the vent holes inside the rim, and there's nowhere for it to go. So if you plan on getting it wet, what they recommend you do is actually cover these vent holes up. You can either use some Gorilla Tape or even some hot glue or something like that. Just put a little dab to cover that up. And then what you can do is when you put the holes in the tire, when you spin the tire, the centrifugal force is going to push the dirt and all the water out of the foams and all that. So it'll also help for the tires that really get it the pizza cutter effect going. It's also going to help keep the tire flexing more evenly because it's going to give it an even space in the center of the tire for the air to escape, and it's also going to help a lot with blowouts, especially when you're starting to run into like 6S and 8S power. Most of the manufacturers, especially on the bigger ones, recommend you get an 1/8 inch hole. We're going to go ahead and start. I like to get the cone tip. I have this specific cheap soldering iron just for my tires. I don't use my good ones, so I do recommend you can get the rubber cleaned off. It's kind of a pain in the butt, so if you don't have the money, this was like $6. If you don't have the money to get a separate one, I at least recommend getting a separate tip for the soldering iron you are going to use. Now I already went ahead, I marked these tires 180 degrees apart, so I just divided by 4, which was about 6 3/8 inches. So the first thing you want to do is figure out where you're first going to want to start here. You're going to want to pinch the tire up to get the rubber away from the foam itself. And I already got it marked out here. You're going to want to make sure you're in the center of the tire, and then you're going to want to make that about 1/8 inch hole. So we're going to go ahead and get that hole started. And then you don't want to be pushing down so far that you're actually putting holes into the foam itself. So when you're squeezing the tire like this, you actually need the tire to be, the hole to be kind of a oblong running with the tread of the tire. So we're just going to kind of get that hole going. I like to just kind of knock down those berms to get them nice and clean, make sure we've got nice round edges. Let it cool for a sec, set it down, bada bing bada boom. There's our first hole. I'm going to go ahead and do that 3 more times. Alright, so we are back. We have all the holes burnt into the rubber here. See them all, 1, 2, 3, and 4. To clean the tip off, I keep the tip of the gun nice and hot, and then I'll take some paper towel or some kind of shop rag, get it soaked in water, make sure you have it layered up so it's pretty thick, and then I'll actually steam the rubber off inside of there. But that's just how I get it clean enough. Like I said, I don't do any actual soldering with that. That is just strictly for venting tires. Like I said, you can use all different kinds of tape if you want to, or hot glue. I recommend that whatever you do, you wipe this down with some kind of rubbing alcohol or some kind of degreaser or something like that, just to make sure it sticks. So it's really rather easy. We're just going to go in. Kind of want to get it into the hole a little bit so you know it's not just sitting over it, but it's actually getting some bite on the hole. You don't want too much. You want the tire being all uneven. Just kind of let it sit there for a sec. Let it set up a little. Rotate it over to the other hole. We got 2 vented tires. Go ahead and finish plugging the wheel vent here. Alrighty, folks. Well, that was just one way you can go ahead and vent your tires. Obviously, like I said, each manufacturer has a different recommendation, so just go ahead and try to figure out what's the best way to set up your tire. If you can't, I'd go ahead and just stick with the 180 degrees apart from each other. So just make sure if you put a hole on one side, you put another hole on the other side. So I hope that video helped you guys out. If it did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you guys aren't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you guys don't do either, please go out and have some RC fun, folks. Bear down out.